It's known as Alligator Alcatraz, which is very appropriate because I looked outside and that's not a place I want to go hiking anytime soon.
The name Alligator Alcatraz based on the facility's location in the middle of the swamp, which is why Florida's Attorney General calls it an efficient, low-cost opportunity.
You don't need to invest that much in the perimeter. If people get out, there's not much waiting for them other than alligators and pythons. Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide.
The Department of Homeland Security posting this picture on X.
The facility is in the heart of the Everglades and will be informally known as Alligator Alcatraz. There is only one road leading in, and the only way out is a one-way flight.
Following the use of other facilities like Guantanamo Bay and the notorious prison in El Salvador, where hundreds were sent in March, all meant to send a message to those living in the country illegally. Over the weekend, several came out to protest the facility.
They're using sacred land for such a sinister and vile, end goal.
Environmental groups filing this lawsuit to block the facility from opening this week as scheduled, arguing it could threaten the wetlands, critical wildlife habitat, and protected species, and that the site is important for drinking water supply and Everglades water quality.
It is an area that we have invested as a nation, billions of dollars for protecting our natural environment, our water supply. We've asked for a very thorough review of what would be the impacts on our environment.
This process has occurred with no transparency whatsoever, with Governor Ron DeSantis handing out contracts to his friends to build what is essentially a concentration camp.
Well, since the detention center's rapid rise, critics have rallied against possible effects on sensitive wetlands and subjecting detainees to safety concerns. But State Senator Joe Grutter says it can withstand a hurricane.
These facilities at least have air conditioning, and they're going to be treated like humans. They just are here illegally. There's a detainer request outstanding. We're doing our job following the law to make sure that they're go through the process in a legal way, and then we could return them home.
State officials say that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement are all managing the logistical operations. It was built in just 8 days. That center can hold up to 5,000 detainees and includes areas for holding, intake, processing, and deportation. Detainees will include migrants arrested here in Florida, as well as individuals who are transferred from other states across the country. That site also features a 10,000-foot runway, allowing planes to land and transport migrants directly out of the United States. It has the capacity to house thousands of undocumented immigrants. They'll be held in FEMA trailers, at least temporarily, along with some tents that are also on the ground there. They'll all be awaiting deportation. President Trump, who toured the compound earlier this week, he says putting those undocumented immigrants in a place surrounded by alligators and snakes is a security tactic.
These people come in here, they want to go home, and they want to go home, so we immediately send them home. Where it's appropriate. Now, if somebody's a real killer, we don't send them anywhere. We put them in a maximum security. Look, what we inherited from this guy, this incompetent man, and his administration, which wasn't incompetent, it was radical left, lunatic, communist, whatever you want to say. I know most of them. What we inherited should never, ever be forgotten. What they've made us do. This is all because of an open border policy where 25 million people flowed in. From all over the world, from prisons, from all over the world they flowed in for no reason whatsoever. We had, when I left, we had a very powerful border. We had no problem. He opened it up day one. He just opened the border, and people couldn't believe it. That's right. They were standing there. What are they doing? They said, go in. That's it. You look at the first day tapes. They opened it up and they said, go in. And that's where all of this began. But this is an amazing thing that they've done here.
Governor DeSantis says that center will have the capacity to hold about 3,000 detainees. Also, the U.S. military will be sending some 200 Marines from the U.S. Northern Command in Colorado to help run that facility. One of the social media posts reads that the troops will help the immigrations and customs and logistics and administrative support. They also go on to say that the soldiers will not be allowed to have any contact with the detainees.
The lawmakers want to inspect the facility to ensure the conditions inside are humane. In response, the DeSantis and Trump administrations have offered to give lawmakers a guided tour. We spoke to Congresswoman Lois Frankel today, who says their offer is just for show. Frankel added she wanted to show up to the facility unannounced and be granted access to look around. She told us President Trump and the governor won't allow her or other Democrats to make an impromptu survey of Alligator Alcatraz. The Department of Homeland Security is denying reports of improper living conditions inside Alligator Alcatraz. Reports this week have claimed the detainees at the detention facility in the Everglades are surrounded by toilets that don't flush, no water to shower, and spoiled meals. Some detainees claim guards have taken away religious items like Bibles. But DHS took to X to debunk those claims, stating the detainees are properly cared for. DHS also said no detainees at Alligator Alcatraz have been hospitalized. Alligator Alcatraz was built to avoid overcrowding in county jails and state prisons. The facility can hold up to 3,000 detainees.
So, Liz, I spoke with Congresswoman Lois Frankel today, and she says a guided tour would basically be like a very staged open house. Look over here, not over there. That's not what the Congresswoman wants. She wants to be able to show up unannounced and to do sort of a survey, like when the landlord shows up and you weren't expecting them. Alligator Alcatraz opened last week. We were rolling on that, covering it extensively. President Trump and Governor DeSantis and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem were there. They were visiting the remote location. They promised that Alligator Alcatraz would send a powerful message to illegals that they should leave on their own accord or risk being locked up in the camp as a last stop before being shipped back to their native country. Well, the Congresswoman says this whole thing is a political stunt. She says it's costing taxpayers too much money, and she says the detainees need to be treated humanely. But there's no way to check on conditions inside the facility because President Trump and the governor won't allow her or the other Democrats to make that impromptu survey of Alligator Alcatraz.
So when they take time to, I don't know, quote unquote, freshen things up, you might not be seeing the real picture. But I do think it's important that we'll have members of Congress and the State House to take a look and see what's going on there.
So the Congresswoman says that the tours for the Democrats are tentatively scheduled for this weekend, but she says some of the details still being worked out. I'm Mike Magnoli, CBS 12 News.